Welcome back to the Roll Tide Rewind in 2025. I'm your host, Thomas from Durham, North Carolina. Not from, that's just where I currently live. I'm from Birmingham. We have Cole from
Fort
Bessemer.
Worth. No,
You're not from Fort Worth.
from Columbiana, hour south of Birmingham. Shout out Columbiana to the one person who may know where that is that watches this. But shout out to Columbiana and shout out to Fort Worth.
Fort Worth, Dallas?
No, not Dallas. Fort Worth. You can't call it Dallas. I've learned that since I've been here. It's Fort Worth. It's not Dallas.
And then we got our very own Parker Lane, new co-host of the Roll Tide Rewind in the great state of
Oklahoma. Thomas, I thought you were from Pigeon Forge, though.
Yeah, I have a timeshare there. Just a timeshare.
Good.
Just a timeshare. If y'all are wondering where Ryan and James are, Ryan is on a European trip right now at work. James is facing a sick battle of COVID-19, and he hopefully will be back in 2 weeks. We will start with some Georgia defensive film. In our last episode, we talked about Georgia's offense and what they bring to the table. But now we're going to look at Georgia's defense and maybe look at some flaws that Alabama can manipulate in their game, and not this Saturday, but next Saturday against Georgia. So we're going to start off with what Tennessee did. Tennessee opened this game up kind of similarly to how they opened it up against Alabama in 2022. They started out on fire. They scored touchdowns in their first 3 drives, but they were able to get Georgia very out of position. And let's look at the run game specifically. You have 2 plays here, not many. Tennessee ran the ball okay, and Alabama's running game has kind of been, iffy this year. But let's look at how Tennessee was able to use misalignment and able to get some good plays right here. Starting with the first drive of Joey Aguilar, who played a pretty good game, I would say. They get Georgia. They have 3 blockers over here, 4 blockers against the 3 and these 2 linebackers. But they push the tight end in, pull the guard. The Georgia defender, middle linebacker, is just a little too slow to recognize, and they have a lead blocker at running back, and that's just too easy. We'll show the back play here, but Tennessee has 4 guys here. They pull a guard. They have 3 blocking the 3 down. They pull the guard. They have a running back. They have 5 on 5. If 5 guys hit their guys, it's an easy touchdown. And that's exactly what Georgia does, or Tennessee does here. Maybe got a little away with a little hold right here, but hey, the flag wasn't thrown. But a good job by Tennessee to notice misalignment and able to get their quarterback on the move. Ty Simpson, he has been able to run the ball pretty well this year in the design run game, but we haven't done it often. But I think we could see a wrinkle of it maybe moving in this Georgia game. And then also, this was the big explosive play Tennessee had in the run game with Star Thomas. Tennessee gets Georgia on a front here that's not favorable to the run game. They have 3 down linemen. They have an outside linebacker on the strong side. Well, they have 2 tight ends, excuse me. They have 1 tight end on each side. So not really a strong side here, but the linebacker is on the side where Tennessee's not running the ball. They pull the guard and the tight end. I think it's just actually an extra tackle on the play. They have that was just a tackle. That wasn't a tight end. Excuse me. That's my bad. They pull the tackle and the guard over. They block all 3 down linemen down. They leave this guy alone, but they have a tight end to block out the linebacker and then a guard to pull up to block a safety. And that's just an easy play to make. I can't emphasize enough how important it is for Alabama to be able to run the ball effectively to be a championship team. And Alabama just hasn't done it yet. They've been relying a lot on the passing game. Kevin Riley has been impressive. I'll say it. I think it was crazy that he was the 4th string running back to start the year, and now he's undoubtedly the 1st string with Jam Miller not being in the picture. But I think Alabama's running backs need to have days, but it relies a lot on the offensive line being able to push those guys and be able to make those plays.
Yeah. I want to talk about something that I feel like needs to be said right away as we look to this game. Georgia defense has been a stalwart across all of college football for years and years and years. Running backs and defense is what Georgia has hung their hat on for the last decade. This may be the weakest linebacker core that I have seen Georgia put on the turf in a long time. That front line is going to be big. It's going to be heavy. It's going to be bruising. The secondary, obviously, you saw what they did for a lot of that game against Tennessee. I think that if Alabama is going to succeed, it starts by fooling or just flat out beating the linebackers and some of those edge guys that drop into coverage. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen there. You see right there on these two plays that we keep on cycling over. Right there, the linebackers don't see the movement happening. They don't see this guard pulling out to the right-hand side, and the next thing you know, he's getting chop blocked by a running back. Over on this play, the guard and the tackle pull. The linebacker's too slow. He's not on the read. He gets blocked there. If we're going to make this run game succeed, it's got to be fooling that second level, because there's really nothing you can ever do against the front 3 or 4 of Georgia. But that's where it starts in the running game. In the passing game, we're going to get to through the air in just a little bit, and I've got strong thoughts there too. I've watched this. I watched this whole game. I focused on the Georgia defense. It's a vulnerability. It's still strong. Like, obviously, it's going to do what it's going to do against Marshall, against Austin Peay. But this is going to be a unit I think that we're going to see consistently tested throughout the year. And for the boys in crimson, it starts next Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with Parker there, giving you kind of the upside of, I don't think this is a vintage Georgia defense. And it's hard to tell through 3 games, but just in terms of talent, I don't think it's as talented as many of the Georgia defenses in the past. I was just quickly looking through the PFF NFL Draft Big Board, and they've only got 2 defenders in the top 100 right now, which I think there will probably be more by the time the actual draft rolls around. But in terms of returning production, there's not a ton. There's some good players. There aren't really any stars on that defense at this moment. However, on the opposite side, on the potential downside here, Thomas, you mentioned it earlier, the run game for Alabama struggled a lot this year. I think Kevin Riley is a solid player, but I'm not ready to say he's anything better than solid at the moment, and he's still been pretty much by far our best running back. In the FSU game, 29 carries for the game for 87 yards. Wisconsin game, 22 carries, 72 yards. Right at 3 yards a carry is not very good. No explosive runs. The really only explosive run we've had all year was a Kalen Deere late in the fourth quarter against UL Monroe. We haven't really been able to break off those explosive plays. Hopefully you're able to get Jam Miller back. We haven't heard definitively if he's going to be able to play against Georgia. He should help, but this run game's got to be better if we're going to win this game.
Yeah, absolutely agree there. Before we were getting this film together, we were talking about most important players to Alabama's success moving forward. And a name that was brought up that I thought was very interesting was Josh Cuevas. I forget which one of y'all brought it up. I think both of y'all did. I'll give both of y'all credit. Mm-hmm. But Tennessee in this game, they in certain aspects of the game, they tried to get their tight end involved. Like, this is a big important play, fourth quarter, 30 seconds left. Almost gets a first down. And then even on I think this was the first drive of the game, Georgia let the tight end right here just get right past him to the second level. And that's just an easy pop play for Aguilar to make, get 15, 20 yards on the play. But, if that's the thing Georgia's going to allow, Alabama has shown in the last few games, like, Josh has not gotten 10 targets a game, but he's been an area of focus. We're getting screen passes to him. We've been throwing swing passes a lot too. How important is Josh Cuevas in a game like this?
I think he's super important. I think he's a really, really good player. I even thought down the stretch last year, I thought he was probably our best tight end by the end of the year. And I think this year he doesn't really have great stats thus far, but I think he's been a lot better than his stats would indicate. And I think it's very important because of how solid our receivers are. Our receiver core is incredible. I mean, Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, both looking like first-round picks right now. At some point, even with the defense as talented as Georgia, you've got to pick your poison. And I think you're going to want to try to contain Ryan Williams and Jeremy Bernard, which might leave a lot of room for these underneath passes like the one you're seeing right now to a very talented tight end in Cuevas.
And it goes back to the linebacker because, unless you're running a dime package or even if you're running a nickel, like who's on Cuevas? You've got a DB. This is a guy that's strong. This is a yards after contact guy. So when he's yakking, it's not just near the line of scrimmage. He's fighting for those yards. If they consistently line, their nickel up against Cuevas, it's going to be a long day for Georgia because we know their linebackers. Not what we've seen in the past. This is really the secret weapon, so to speak. And I kind of want to make this the segue into the passing game because we are talking about Cuevas, and he's going to be a big part of the pass catching. I think this is a scheme game, right? Because if you're beating Georgia, you have to work your levels. Ty Simpson's a very accurate quarterback. What do you do as an offensive coordinator when you have a quarterback that's accurate? You need to consistently have layers, because what layers does against the defense is it gives you an opportunity 1 second in the play, 2 seconds in the play, 3 seconds in the play, and then your last resort. So say that you're Ty Simpson. You go 24 for 29 against Wisconsin. Up against Georgia, you need to have these passes breaking out. You need to have Cuevas on that 3-yard look. You need to have Jeremy on that 5 to 7 yard look. You need to have Ryan Williams at that 13-yard look, and you need to have, whoever roll out. This is where it gets extremely, extremely important, is how you plan for Ty Simpson specifically.
Yeah, I mean, the good segue, like you said, Parker. We'll look right here. Tennessee kind of catches Georgia slacking here. Wide open wheel route in the fourth quarter to take the lead. You can see on this play where kind of an all-22 angle here. But you see Georgia just kind of loses them. It's a great route, a great concept. Doing inside crossing into a wheel route, it's always a great concept, especially when the coverage lacks a little bit, especially in man coverage right here, because you see this linebacker here. There's someone lost here in coverage. So this is a safety walking down, but the safety has to account for the running back here. Like, he looks like from the get-go, that's his guy, is the running back. He sees him, he takes, and he thinks that a safety or the other corner has this guy if he shoots downfield, and it realizes then he doesn't, and that's where the play breaks.
It's just broken cover 2. Yeah, it's a perfect example of broken cover 2, because as that safety there, you know that your assignment's the running back. So now your other safety and a DB are going back. All of a sudden, the entire balance of the field is flipped. You see at the top right of the screen, you see that the right cover 2 guy is all the way out near the numbers. The left cover 2 guy is in between the hash marks. There is no chance if he gets past that second level that he's never going to catch him. He just won't. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, and you can also see on this play, too, a misdirection. Tennessee. Yeah, sorry, you go, Cole. I'm sorry.
Sorry, no, I just wanted to say I also think they had some breakdown in communication here. If you see the tight end leaking out to the flat there, I think number 20 there gets caught off guard by seeing that guy so open that I think he gets his eyes into the backfield and gets beat deep. But they've got nobody out there to cover. Even if he goes with that deep route, that's still going to be a huge gain out to that tight end on the left.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see the same thing here with the misalignment. Tennessee is the first drive of the game. All of it's scripted. They have their best plays to fight this defense. But inside crossing routes right here, same player. You see Georgia will bite on the toss. They pull guards. They pull the tight end. It makes it look like it is a run, but everybody bites. You see almost every one of them walks up, but then as Aguilar steps back, the play's already made. Like, this linebacker is putting his hand out to hopefully get a hold of him to make him, I guess, get pushed to get off balance, but that play's already been made. Tennessee already had the perfect play call. He gets down inside the 10 for a first and goal, even gets a little extra there. But yeah, I think this is where Alabama can win this game, is if they misalign them so much in the passing game, and Williams, Bernard, Horton, Loxier are able just to run wide open, because if they're going to run wide open, we've seen how Ty has thrown the last 2 games. He has the ability to make those plays. And even we'll segue here with what Alabama's done to scheme. You see, this is in Louisiana Monroe game, first drive of the game, scripted plays, obviously, but it's the same kind of thing. We're going to do a little misdirection here, going to back him up, and then Bernard is going to go to the opposite side of the field, and it's going to be a wide open pass. And credit to Young here on this block. I just want to give him credit. And Bernard makes a good play. So I think Alabama can totally take advantage of that aspect of the game. And yeah, y'all have anything else to add on the misalignment stuff? Because we're about to go into the next problem that Tennessee presented for Georgia that Alabama also could exploit as well.
No, I think we've really nailed this down. I think that the problem areas are well documented now. Obviously, this is Kirby Smart we're talking about. A lot of the stuff we're seeing now is going to be addressed in practice. It comes down to how do you sort of capitalize on ideas, not formations, right? How do you win against the cornerback blitz? It's something we saw a lot of against Tennessee. The cornerback blitz came in heavy. It didn't necessarily work. I don't think that there was a single QB hurry against Tennessee at all. I think there was just 1 sack to be exact. So how do you win against common schemes that you're seeing?
Gotcha. Alrighty. We will move on to the next part. The winner of the day, in my opinion, was Chris Brazel. He was outstanding in this game. We'll see here, just even with pass interference, nothing you can do. I'll kind of let his plays kind of play on here, but this one is the most concerning one to me. Georgia's safety, KJ Bolden, who I'll add is a very talented player, played at Buford. He's very talented, 5-star recruit. I wanted Alabama to recruit him, or Alabama to get him, but he gets kind of lost here in this play. We'll show the replay here. He is the safety at the top of the screen. He just gets flat out lost. He is right here, and Aguilar makes this decision very quickly of where he's going with the ball. He just throws it right here. This is on paper right here. That's an easy interception in your head. Like, oh my God, he's throwing it to this guy right here with this, and he's running the post right to this safety. That's too easy. Nope, it's an easy throw. Easy throw for him to make. Bolden gets lost and just somehow doesn't see the 6'5" receiver coming in hot. And Brazel presented a lot of problems for Georgia. Like that first touchdown, and then this touchdown, my jaw dropped, as so did Josh Pate's jaw drop. But that's incredible. I don't really have much else to add on Brazel, what he was able to do against Georgia. But, I mean, I guess, like, Georgia kind of – because they have different defenders on them. Like, the first play, you see that guy, and then it moves over to other guys, and it just continues to be the same success. But what Alabama has to offer, our biggest receiver we have is Isaiah Horton. He's transferred from Miami. He played a little bit in the Florida State game, got injured. He's played a little bit in Louisiana Monroe, and he's started since then. But he's a big-time player for us. He was like one of our biggest gets in the transfer portal. He is a very key player, and this is the game where he needs to have his game. If Brazel was successful as he was, we need Horton to be our X factor in this game, because Jeremy Bernard, I think, has been our best offensive player in 3 weeks. We know where we're getting out of him. Ryan Williams has proven that he can be an elite receiver, make plays. Horton has proven in some of these games that he can make plays, but is he going to be the guy for one game? And I think this is the game it has to be. We can see right here against Wisconsin, great throw by Ty Simpson, great catch by Horton. Gets it to where his receiver is the only one that can catch the football. So I guess I'll beg the question, how important is Isaiah Horton in this football game?
I think he's very important, but I think the entire receiving corps for Alabama is important. You saw, in this game it was Brazel who was killing Georgia over and over again. But I think they were able to hit some big plays to a lot of guys in this game. And one thing I noticed in particular was Tennessee was picking on Ellis Robinson, the fourth, a lot, especially in the first half of this game. He's the one that gets beat on the first big play to Brazel down the line where he has the kind of pass interference go against him. But they picked on him a lot. I think they even brought it up on the broadcast, and that could be a potential place Alabama could try to exploit. Ellis Robinson, a very talented guy. He was a 5-star everywhere. He was the number 2 player in last year's class, but he's only a true sophomore. He didn't play a ton last year. And Tennessee seemed to think he was the guy to exploit, to the point where Georgia took him off the field a lot in the second half. So if we see him, that could be a potential matchup to exploit, especially with a guy like Isaiah Horton, who could tower over him and give him a lot of the same issues he had with Chris Brazel.
Yeah, absolutely. I also want to mention that this is so fresh in the mind of Georgia, and it will be going into this game, right? And everyone's saying it, and Smart sees it. He knows, hey, big guy, goes deep, runs fast, lots of catches, big playability. It's not just him, though. I think that Horton has a big day if he only has one catch for maybe 15 yards or whatever. And I don't mean on the stat sheet. If he is consistently drawing the attention of that third level, if he is pulling safeties and we're opening up that 15-yard pass for Ryan Williams, that's the biggest day of Horton's career if he beats Georgia. It doesn't matter. If he's downfield drawing attention, he just has to be a threat, right? He doesn't have to light up the scoreboard. But if he gets one catch for 33 yards, touchdown or not, and all of a sudden Georgia's secondary is like, oh crap, like this is a guy that we actually have to watch. And then all of a sudden the attention spreads out. And it goes back to scheming. It goes back to scheming for Ty Simpson. How do you approach the level design? If we're having Horton run 3 go route to drive and he's only getting targeted 1 out of every 3 of those or 1 out of every 6 of those, he's still having a great game because he's doing what he's been designed to do. I think he's going to do better than that personally. I really do. But let's not measure success by a stat sheet. I think that he is going to have a severe impact on this game. He's going to have a severe impact on what these safeties, on how they divide their focus across the field.
I think that's a wonderful answer. We will move on to the last part of the game. Georgia, this is the good Georgia clips of the game. They confuse quarterbacks by their elaborate blitzes, but they also are successful because of them getting pressure. And we'll look at Aguilar and some of his struggle throws of the game. But this play, they rush 4. It's not a blitz, but they create pressure. And I think Alabama's big-time issue against Florida State was Ty felt rushed the entire game. And in a game where you're at Georgia in Athens, they've won 35 home games in a row. Like it's one of the longest streaks in SEC history. With them letting that loud noise and you're getting pressured constantly, you're going to feel like you have to bail on a lot of things. Aguilar doesn't bail here, but the pressure makes him make a bad throw. He airs it out more than he should, and it allows the safety to be able to run over and make a play. And we can also see it on an all 22 angle-ish in a little second. But you can see it here. The pressure, Aguilar does have a guy here. If he puts it out in front of him, it could be a good play. But the pressure makes him kind of just throw a helpless duck that's going to be picked off every single time. And then you can also see here with Georgia's blitzing after this interception replay, you see they walk 2 guys up right when Aguilar is about to hike the ball. Now, this is a convenient play for Georgia. It's 3rd and 8, but Tennessee decides to run the football right at a blitz. So that's going to work every single time. And it creates a play where Tennessee's not going to be successful. But I will say this encouraging fact for Alabama is he's able to get to the second level. He's actually able to get by the blitz. It's just a great play by the safety here. Incredible hit. But this is just something that Georgia likes to do. And you can also see here on 3rd and 9 and overtime, the play that kind of helps Georgia kind of win the game here because Tennessee gets this. Overtime continues, but they don't kick a field goal. Georgia ices the game, but bring a late safety blitz. They back off one of the linebackers, and it's confusing for an offensive line. When your play opens up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys on the line of scrimmage, 5 of them come, 1 backs off, but then another guy appears. It's hard as an offensive lineman to know the calls. You have to work a gap, but also if you're working a gap, one guy kind of shoots one way, the other guy shoots the other way. You have to have that effective communication of I got this guy, you have this guy. And you can see here Tennessee does get confused. Aguilar almost makes an interception on this play, but the blitzing is something Kirby Smart loves to do elaborate blitzing. You can see it also on this next play here. They just bring a corner right here to come confused, and Aguilar has to make a play quickly, and it's able to work in Georgia's favor, and they're able to make a stop and force a punt. And then this is one of my favorite blitzes that I've ever seen Georgia do. This is against Texas last year. As soon as Quinn Ewers is about to say hike, it's a perfect thing. Georgia shifts the defensive line. They walk all 3 of their linebackers, and Texas, it's like I said, it's hard for an offensive lineman. They get confused. In reality, when you bring 6 guys against 5, technically one of them is going to run free. But in this play, they brought 6 against 5, and 2 of them ran free just because it's so confusing. So I think a big important thing for Alabama in this game is how they handle the blitz, because we saw against Florida State, Ty out of the pocket. I think he's looked great the past 2 games. Don't get me wrong. However, we saw him struggle with decision-making when he got outside the pocket, whether it be, do I need to run the ball, or do I need to make this pass, or who am I passing the ball to? And those quick thinking decisions that have to be made can cause any quarterback to make a mistake. and I'll
Yeah,
send it over to
100%.
you guys to see what your thoughts on that too.
And I'll jump in because this is a pro style defense, right? Now we've talked about the linebackers, we talked about the secondary. This is really where we're going to focus in on this front line for Georgia. And again, pro style defense, you're going to see these coverage shells. You're going to see maybe 6 guys line up on the line, and maybe you only send 4, maybe you only send 3. You're going to see cover 2 shell. You're going to see a cover 9 shell. I'd be willing to bet the bank on it, right? It's something that's going to come up. Here's the problem, though, is because Georgia is known for the blitz and they're so prolific at it, is how do you, as an offensive lineman who have struggled through these past few weeks, and let's be honest, fellas, they have struggled. How do you prep and how do you sort of get in the right mindset for that? Well, I think it's communication first and foremost, especially if Georgia does put 6 on that line. You need to establish first and second coverage options, right? As this play develops, you need to understand who your primary assignment is, and then you need to understand, especially if right guard, left guard, even if Parker Brailsford to some extent, you need to understand who the second option is, especially if they start to pull stunts out. If they only rush 4 and you see an El Paso stunt, who's covering who? Like what needs to happen in that situation? Georgia's going to throw the book at this game. This is a game they want to win badly. This is a game they lost last year on the road. They're at home. The chalks are off, right? There's going to be no stops for this front Georgia line. It's all about before the snap, not to get frazzled, to understand where you need to be, who you need to block, who you need to block in case it all falls apart. That's going to be the key.
Yeah, those are great points, and this is a really good stepping off point for me if we could transition into the keys to the game, because my key to the game is how this Alabama offensive line is able to block the Georgia defensive line. The Alabama offensive line got whipped against Florida State, and it was one of the biggest problems we had in that game. As Florida State continually got pressure, you saw Ty Simpson get less and less comfortable. He made worse and worse decisions, and he made some worse and worse throws. And I think he's done a lot better at that, even against Wisconsin, who has some obviously Power 4 level athletes. But do we see possibly him reverting back to how he was in that Florida State game if he starts to get some pressure in his face from this Georgia defensive line? The Alabama offensive line is very talented. They've got a lot of guys that have started a lot of games, but they haven't played very well this year. Hopefully Jaden Roberts continues to get more and more healthy. I think that'll be a big help to the offensive line. But I think if we're able to block Georgia effectively, give Ty Simpson a clean pocket, give him time to throw, I think we've got a good chance to win this game.
I definitely agree there. Yeah, it's gonna be a big matchup, and I think, like you said, Cole, it's the biggest matchup of the game: Alabama's offensive line versus the defensive line. Because realistically, there were a lot of problems against Florida State, but I think the main problem was the offensive line. Like Ty made some bad decisions. He also made some very good throws, and a part of those good throws being made was having time to sit there and make a play, let the play develop, and that's what we're gonna have to see in this game. But this is a good end to the video. Georgia defensive film. Give us a like and subscribe to the channel, and let's see what Alabama can do against this Georgia defense. But until then, thank you all for joining, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.